I want to speak a little bit about how I became an orphan with an orphan disease. As I'd said previously, an orphan disease orphans a person with inside their life. And the reason that is doctors feel helpless to help the patients. The patient only knows their experience, and much of the time a person is invalidated about their own experience. You're telling somebody what is happening, and they're telling you that that's not possible. Well, unfortunately, yeah, the actual experience is the experience. And so there's one doctor who told me once that I'm the only patient he ever met who actually knew exactly what was happening with her. I mean, he was so nice to me. But in general, the presumption always is the patient is a liar, or they don't know what they're talking about, or they want attention, or they're malingering, or, unless it's like your spleen is hanging out in your entrails and, you've broken your leg and they're cardiac arrest. There's very little doctors can do for a category of people known as born to die. And it's a wonderful article in the New Yorker magazine from last summer of 2014 about one of a kind. If you read about one of a kind, and there are 8,500 orphan diseases. However, for many people with an orphan disease, they are part of a small category, maybe 80 known cases or 150. Doctors have said to me they've never ever seen any patient like me, and I don't believe that. I think they have ignored the other 200, for instance, or the other 2,000. Many people with orphan diseases will die before they ever get help. So because the doctor doesn't know something doesn't mean the disease is not a disease. Or let's call it a disorder, or, well, it's called orphan disease and rare disease for a reason. But then you have the patient is dealing with what is called medical narcissism, which is the doctor feels very, very helpless, and their ego, so they have to ignore the patient's experience or invalidate it in order for them to feel important as doctors. And then the patient deteriorates, and only as things get worse and worse and worse do you get some help. But then when things get really, really bad, then you're sort of thrown out with the trash. I mean, it's such a diabolical cycle. I mean, again, we call it healthcare, but it's not healthcare. It's disease management. But how can you manage something? Most of all, many doctors don't want to learn. It's too much work. They're paid too little. They want just, the overweight diabetic who's been irresponsible for a long time. They can give them a bunch of stuff and, well, goodbye, or the alcoholic or the drug addict, or, so much of disease is lifestyle, cigarette smoking, drug use. There's a lot of genetic, but at the same time, when somebody has taken good care of themselves, then you must secretly want to go to the doctor for another reason. Like I read the other day, it's called a hospital addiction disorder, or they'll refer to somebody as a doctor shopper. Well, the entire time you're bouncing around and you're deteriorating, you're not actually getting help. So it becomes like this, Kafka's kind of crazy cycle. However, you become an orphan because the biggest lie that a human being is told is that people will love you as you are. That's just not true. That there's unconditional love. For some people, that's true. In my experience, that's not true. That I was very popular, very admired, loved. I remember, my birthday parties, how many people were around me, and people wanted to come to my parties, and there was always this idea, oh, there's so much excitement around me. However, once I became symptomatic and, quote, disabled, that, Oprah Winfrey has a quote that I just love, which is, everybody wants to be in a limousine with you, but it's a friend who's on the bus with you. And you find very few people who are willing to be on the bus ride with any difficulty, be it a bad divorce or I haven't had one of those, a bad divorce, or a disease, a difficulty. A person loses a child and they lose their friends. You lose a job, you lose your colleagues. You know, there's human beings are, particularly Americans, are feel-good junkies. Oh, you gotta feel good all the time. Gotta feel good. You know, at some point, those Kardashian women are gonna line up and just all spread their legs, with Caitlyn behind saying, "No, this is where I get off the bus." I mean, it's everything is about somebody getting all jacked up on somebody else's experience. So Tom Ford would say he'll stop designing clothes when sex goes out of business. So of course people are looking at the naked, uneducated Kardashians. Did they ever go to school? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, maybe they did. Maybe they went to this school of, I was gonna say hard something, but no, the Kris Jenner school. Anyway, I should not even mention the Kardashians because they're very irrelevant. And the tragedy is they're relevant in our society. And so for somebody like myself, I'm orphaned within a disease trying to get medical help, and I'm popular as long as I'm pretty and I'm smiling and you can feel good around me, and I just make you feel good, sexy and funny, and you know, medical emergency, not so much. Now, the most horrible thing about getting sick is you are then reliant on some of the worst human beings you'll ever meet, people who have very little regard for life. I mean, truly, dearly, the worst human beings I've ever met have worked in healthcare. They are people who, I can't say by no fault of their own, by every choice of their own, they've chosen to not do something in their lives other than get a low-wage job. Oh, I'll become a tech or a CNA or a physician's assistant. I'll go to the Bryman School of no requirements after my GED and take care of a vulnerable person. Well, no wonder we have a healthcare crisis. So then you're sort of stuck also, if you're educated like I am educated, that then the circle you're with is not anybody you know. You're more orphaned because you're more alone. Even basic things, basic conversations you can't have anymore because your milieu has left you, your pod, your pool, in my family they said family first. Family first only mattered as long as nothing was going to be asked of them. Family first only mattered as long as you don't get sick. The greatest sin a person can ever commit is illness. It's a kind of insanity on the part of the family. And so I've been orphaned. I mean, you have a boyfriend. Boyfriend likes you, and then, they find out that you're, all the things you can't do. Well, there are a lot of things I can do, but hey, I still look good by a swimming pool. I'm still lots of fun. I'm bright and I'm smart and I'm capable. But these are things people don't know about you when you get sick. They only care that suddenly, you're the drag. That's what you hear, a lot of that. And then it's so degrading because then you're trying to get help and approval from people who don't even regard you as a human being anymore. And so then you are orphaned within the entire